Right, for folks online, I'm just gonna wait 2 more minutes to get started. Hey, Stephen.
Hey,
Morning.
you guys have SET codes. That's awesome.
Got merch.
Yeah. Looks good.
Great.
Oh.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I knew I'd get a reaction. But I really do have merch.
Brought it all today. I brought my
Right.
hat home.
Did you?
Yeah, and my husband took it from me. He already has.
I noticed that my head is way too skinny for these styles. So I wear it like this.
Yeah.
Right? And you have to go. I was told by the Gen Zers that I gotta go like that.
Great. So everyone who's online can be jealous that they didn't get a
Well, this is why you come in person.
transit
Why you
pen.
come in person, right?
And when I took my little tote home, my daughter wanted that. So none of it, I ended up with none of it.
Do you have the mini totes too?
Yeah, when I came and I visited the other day,
We ordered these by mistake, and it turns out it was just dumb luck. They were flying off the shelves.
well, those are gonna become viral like the Trader Joe's totes.
I-
Exactly.
Oh, I didn't know Trader Joe's had these sizes.
Well,
Yeah.
they're not that small, but
Okay.
apparently people were paying crazy enough money for them, so.
Well, apparently this can hold
Resale.
a small lunch or 4 water bottles.
You fit 4 water or a 4-pack.
4-pack of something. I don't know.
All right, I said we get started at 10:02. It's 10:02. Let's go ahead and get started. We do have a quorum in the room, so let's go ahead and get started with introductions in the room, and then we'll move online. I'm Dana Trey with the Sonoma County Transportation and Climate Authorities. Jessica Sandoval with Golden Gate.
Chris Barney, SCTCA.
Oh, I'm sorry. Stephen Schmidt, Sonoma County Transit.
Zoe Unruh with Smart. And in the back, you're welcome to sit at the table too. There's plenty of space. All right, and then let's move to online. Let's start with SCTCA staff.
Ross Clendetton, SCTCA.
Beth Britt, SCTCA.
All right, and then transit staff.
Good morning, Jacob Brown with Golden Gate.
All right, and then other attendees.
This is Jacob King up here in Mendocino.
Hey, Jacob.
Oh,
You guys.
do we have a quorum?
Yeah. Um, so we have 5 agencies represented on this committee, so 3
Oh.
actually makes a quorum.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, great. We got everybody online. Golden Gate. Then let's go ahead and move to public comment on items not on the agenda. I don't believe we have any members of the public. Okay. Next is approval of the meeting notes from March 11th. Any comments on the notes?
I move to approve.
I wasn't in attendance.
I'm all fine. Okay. Any opposed? Okay, great. That passes it. Let's go ahead and move to item number 4 is Brown Act SB 707 update. And this will be a presentation from Ross Clendenin, who's joining us online.
Thanks, Dana. Yeah, I've got a presentation which I can share. Let's see. And this concerns, let's see. Can you guys see that?
Yes, now it's in presenter mode.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So this is a presentation related to some new legislation, Senate Bill 707, and what it means for SCTCA's advisory committee meetings, including this one. We'll talk a little bit about some new teleconferencing options that are available and how it applies to this committee. So the Brown Act, as you know, our meetings are, for the most part, Brown Act meetings, so publicly accessible. This legislation won't be as much of a change compared to some agencies just because we have always allowed virtual public comment on our meetings, and that will continue. But the Brown Act basically ensures that the meetings are open, transparent, and that public participation is allowed. And the updates to the teleconferencing rules, of which there have been, it's been a bit of a roller coaster after COVID. Things were fully virtual, then there was less options. Now, luckily, we're getting some more. So basically, SB 707 updates and simplifies teleconferencing rules. So AB 2449, that is gone, but those provisions have largely been integrated into the new legislation. So it gives a consistent framework and gives options for multi-agency bodies, which is like the SCTCA board, and pertinent for today for advisory committees. And these rules are currently in effect through 2030. So an eligible subsidiary body can use teleconferencing if approved. And this is a little different than the traditional teleconferencing, but I'll get into that in a minute. Basically, the body's got to be advisory only, so no final decision-making authority, and it can't focus solely on budget, elections, taxes, or police oversight. And our legal has determined that this and the rest of our advisory committees do meet that requirement, as seen here. And let's see, let's get into the meat of this. So with the new legislation, the first thing is committee approval is required. You do have a quorum today, so that's good. Basically, the T-TAC take a vote to approve teleconferencing at an in-person meeting, which is today. And if that passes, it basically means that you can have remote access by members as long as there is a two-way connection. So there's got to be camera on, audio on. You've got to disclose whether there's anyone over 18 with you in the room. And this is not limited to just 1 or 2 times. This is not limited to emergencies or anything like that. Yeah, essentially there will be a physical location, which will continue to be in this room at the SCTCA boardroom. And there will be staff here. So members and the public is welcome to attend physically as before, but now the option is members can participate remotely, and that does include voting, taking action. They would count towards the quorum, So the quorum would be a combination of the members in the room and online. So you do not have to have a quorum in the room as long as there is one overall. Roll call votes would be required in all cases when that's happening. And you'll see it in red if remote access fails. So essentially, if SCTCA loses connectivity for some reason, that would basically, we would pause the meeting, try to remedy it. If we can't, the meeting would need to be stopped. However, that's kind of the way it is now. But the way it works would be if an individual member loses their connection, their internet, something technical failure of some kind happens, until that is resolved and they have two-way connectivity, they would not be able to vote and they would not count towards the quorum. So that is one thing to keep in mind. It would not crash the whole meeting if one person wasn't able to connect. So today, T-TAC is asked to vote on authorizing the use of SB 707 teleconferencing provisions. And this authorization, currently it must be renewed every 6 months. So this will come up just as an action item every 6 months. And this is kind of the basics. I feel like there was some clarification needed at some of the other committees. I'm kind of getting answers to a lot of the questions, so we're all learning together, but I'm happy to answer any questions about the new legislation.
Thank you, Ross. Are there any questions for Ross? I have a question. So upon this vote, this would go into practice at the next T-TAC meeting? Yes. Okay.
Yeah, we're kind of cycling through our various advisory committees depending on when they meet, and this is kind of slowly coming into effect. Some agencies, other agencies have jumped right in. Others are kind of waiting to see how everyone else enacts it. So we're all figuring it out together.
We love having you all here in person, but I know there's times, for example, like this week where staff is stretched really thin and we have items that need action. And so this would allow convenience to be able to, take votes when there's not a quorum in the room. And Ross, you may have mentioned this, but could you talk a little bit about the the need to, if this were to pass by the committee, the need to renew it every 6 months?
Yeah, that's something that legal pointed out to us in the legislation, and I think it's a little odd, but we're going with that, so we're just kind of making a note to add that to an agenda 6 months from now. But this would just be like, at the beginning of a meeting, just with the other administrative items, just voting to continue.
So sorry, I came in late here. Would this be for every meeting that everyone can be remote?
Basically, yes. As long as, as long as you have two-way connection, audio and video, you disclose anyone over 18 in the room. You would count towards a quorum and be able to take action and vote. So it's kind of a bit of a game changer. I think, and for us too, I just want to note that it really does kind of match with SCTCA's goals to reduce GHG emissions, and as well as, in some committees we have some members with mobility issues, things like that. It really helps open that up. And it's, And the big thing to make clear, just because this used to come up, unlike traditional teleconferencing, no advance noticing is required. So you do not need to like publicly notice your home or make it publicly accessible or anything like that, which was a requirement for traditional teleconferencing in the past.
I was just the only comment I have, sorry, Maria, Potomac Transit. I was just gonna say is that this reminds me of COVID, obviously, back in the day. So I think it's wonderful. And also though, especially I'm thinking about the other committees, like really letting them know that 6 months is required because I'm probably not thinking about this committee as much as the paratransit coordinating committee. If we're getting people on that with the basis that Zoom is available and then in 6 months, because especially that meeting is only every other. So you're talking every meeting?
Every 3 meetings, yeah.
Vote, which I'm sure they will vote for it, but I think I'm just saying out loud from my brain, when we're recruiting people in, that could change. And so for them, that might, we'll hope it won't.
But it's only for, right now, it's already open to Zoom. This would only be for voting members to be it, right? So that would be more of.
Yeah, for
Correct.
recruiting.
Agency representatives being able to not have to be in the room.
But wouldn't agency partners also for a paratransit meeting, since they're voting members, would also be able to?
Sure.
Right. So I'm thinking more for them that might not have always the accessibility, just giving them a heads up. That's the only thing that comes to my mind. But I'm excited about the accessibility. I mean, that's always a phenomenal thing.
Yeah, and just to note that renewal, as far as we know, that vote can certainly be taken remotely, yeah.
Well, I think it's a great idea for transparency and for participation. I mean, and for convenience, GHG reductions, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Would you like to make that a motion?
Oh, are we voting today?
Well, this is,
I'm just kidding.
it is an action item on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah, I'll make a motion to, what do we do, adopt the new Brown Act regulations?
I'll second.
any opposed? All right, that passes then.
All right, we can all go then, right?
We need so you gotta stay here. At least through another item.
I will say that I for all those reasons I support it, but I do think that there is something about meeting. We've had some meetings that happen that have been remote and that have moved to in person, and there's a certain amount of engagement that happens. So I think just moving forward, it'd be good to think about, is there a period or is there some sort of juncture at which meeting in person makes sense as well? Because I definitely think that all those advantages occur, but there is something lost too.
Yeah. And
but it's hard to say exactly what is lost, you know what I mean? So
but I think to that point, I mean, it might be a good idea to think about coordinating those moments. Like, well, this is going to be a heady one. Maybe we can, we all communicate and say, let's try to be in.
That's what you would lose right there.
what's the with it?
Merchandise.
that's right. I mean, you don't want to lose out on merchandise. And, just to clarify too, like this room will always be open for the committee meetings and I'll always be here. So. We'll give them just a moment to finish their merch trading. Thank you so much, Ross. All right, moving on to regional funding. We have the Transportation Fund for Clean Air FYE 27 proposed program and projects, and this will be Margot.
Excellent. Good morning. Well, it's a pleasure to be here in person. I feel the warm, friendly vibe.
Yeah, I've seen you over Zoom, but never in person.
So here I am. I just felt it was a huge value add to be here in person. So,
After all.
maybe a little, I don't know, maybe coffee and donuts will encourage me.
Or discourage.
I will only meet if there's coffee and donuts.
Raising the bar. Okay. So I'm here today to provide an update on the TFCA Transportation Fund for Clean Air. As you know, we had a call of projects earlier this year, and it was a somewhat special year because the total amount available was 1,682,750. And that was because the normal funds were in the range of the 700,000, plus there was an additional 975,000 made available for bikeways and bike parking. So really encourage the jurisdictions to think aggressively about taking advantage of this pot of money, which was fully competitive. We received 7 applications totaling about $2,073,098. So knowing that we were oversubscribed, we ranked ordered the projects based on their most optimal CE and returned to City of Petaluma Public Works and also Sonoma County Transit to ask them if we could rescope or provide them a partially funded amount, to which they agreed, so that we now have these 7 projects totaling the available monies, which were 1,682,750. So those 7 projects really run the range of a couple of transit projects, bike racks, bicycle facilities, and bikeway closures. So excited about the good projects. And I'm here to ask the action would be to request your recommending these proposed programs so that we can go forward to the board in May to request their approval of these programs and then forward it on to MT.
Bay Area Air District.
Thank you. I still forget who my master of these funds are, so I'm getting up to speed. So that is my ask for today, unless anybody has any questions on our approach or the projects.
Not hearing any questions. Yeah, so this is an action item.
I'll make a motion to approve the list of projects.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll second that motion.
Thank you.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you, Margot.
Certainly.
All right, the next item is Margot's as well, and that's the TDA 3 and TFCA Q3 report.
Yes, I'm still here. So real briefly, prepared the quarterly report, which you should have a copy of. This is our every 3 months review of what has been spent and if there are any projects that are heading towards their fund expiration. So I was quickly scanning to see if there are ones related to transit. So for our Transit Development Act, Article 3, the TDA 3 monies, calling out that Petaluma, this is more of a public works, that they're closing in on fund expiration in June, as is 2 projects in Sonoma County, but not transit related. And then for TFCA, I think Petaluma Transit just had a question about the status of their 24 fiscal year ending 24 project. But again, that's noted in the report. Just to circle back on the status, they have about 90,000 remaining. Similarly, Santa Rosa City Bus expiration coming up in June. So just a heads up, that is on their trip reduction incentive program. And then this is a far advanced notice that coming up in November for Santa Rosa City Bus, that they have a balance to ideally expend before the end of the calendar year. Sonoma County Transit, I can do some follow-up offline, but they have 2 projects which currently they have not fully exceeded their balance for a project that ended the end of December, but I will follow up. So that's the take for now, but if you have any other clarification questions, you can ask now or follow up with me later.
I think Santa Rosa's are those are projects for travel training and unlimited rides. Maybe those are the 2. I think those are yeah. We'll expend those.
Okay. Perfect. Any other questions, concerns, or questions? No.
Thanks, Margot.
Sure. Thank you.
All right, moving on to regional planning. We have a report from Adam Garcia who's joining us online. on the travel model update, general plan build out.
All right. Hello, everyone. So, Adam Garcia coming to talk to you about the next step in our travel model development. As you may recall, we've wrapped up two different travel model scenarios already, one for 2023 existing conditions, and then one also for requirement through Plan Bay Area 2050 plus, showing how our county growth would be consistent with what Plan Bay Area 2050 plus is showing for our area of the Bay Area. So the next one that we're working towards is the general plan build out. Predominantly, the existing conditions and the general plan build out are the two main scenarios that are used for evaluating various CEQA projects, be it area plans or large transportation or developments projects. And so where we're at now is that we've internally as SCTCA staff have come to an initial draft of the general plan build out. The next steps, which we're currently in, is reviewing those results with each of the individual jurisdictions. Depending on when those jurisdictions have last updated their general plan, some are a little bit easier than others, but for those who have most recently updated, Santa Rosa and Petaluma in particular, as well as Rohnert Park, have a lot of great data from their consultants to provide for these inputs. So let's see, I'm going to just give a quick overview of a few charts that really just show kind of what the additional capacity you could think of is. So if general plan build out is that, what's the maximum development potential of each parcel? We're really looking at what the difference between that evaluation is and then what was existing in 2023. So it's really showing that kind of delta difference. Let's see. So here's, hopefully you can all see that. I don't think I can do full screen on there, but okay. So moving down the line, where we see a lot of, we can kind of guess Santa Rosa out surpasses all with kind of where that additional development potential is, followed by Rohnert Park and Santa Rosa as well. Petaluma is a little bit lower on, say, the single family development, but a little higher on the multifamily. Windsor also is in a similar situation. There's just a little bit more proposed for multifamily. So from here we can, what we're reviewing is more detailed information with the planners, but just wanted to provide a little overview first, go in the right direction. So for commercial, looking at where office development is expected, again in Santa Rosa, good amount in Cotati and Rohnert Park as well. Significant amount of hotel development considerations and zoning for the county and the hotel, as well as for Windsor and Rohnert Park. Strip commercial is really just more general commercial. So again, county shows quite a lot there. However, Rohnert Park shows more development capacity, as well as Windsor, for those larger kind of shopping centers where there's multiple stores chained together, or just primarily. Let's see, in terms of industrial, quite a bit expected for the county and in Rohnert Park. Windsor has some large projects as well, distributed across the light industrial category, the high industrial and warehousing as well. And just to comment on the schools, one of the trends that we're seeing long-term and even short-term, I think, are some stagnation in our overall population, if not a little bit of a decline within Sonoma County. So projecting out those continued declines, it's about 8% for school students, elementary and high school students, and then I think more about like 11%, I think, for the college students. Did I say that right? I think 11 for college and about 8 for the school age students. So that's a consistent forecast that we had for the 2050 plus scenario for Plan Bay Area as well. So that's something we're expecting to see continue in the future. In terms of social institutions, there's a little bit more research that's needed still at the county, but we can see a good amount of institutional square footage increasing. That could be community centers or police, fire, other facilities as well. And then in terms of acreage, not much happening for hospital growth, a little bit in the county, but for recreational acres, seeing some increases as well. But more research is still needed as we're going through our review with the individual jurisdictions. And then lastly, a lot of the wine production that we are tracking is either stagnant or just in some small areas of growth. We're getting some updated data from the county that we need to review that might bump these numbers up a little bit. So, but overall, that's where we're at in our general plan build out evaluation. And maybe I'll stop there and see if there's any questions that folks have.
Thank you, Adam. Just double checking if there's any questions, either in the room or from folks online.
I was curious about, you mentioned you highlighted the reduction in total square footage as it relates to schools. And you also kind of referenced how that's consistent with the population trends. Are those trending more or less proportionally? Or, I mean, not that there's a 1-for-1 equivalent, but obviously square footage and space capacity in schools does kind of correlate, right, with population size. So I was just wondering if there's if those are trending similarly or they're a little bit more divergent.
Yeah, that's a good question. And to clarify this, I maybe misspoke or brushed over that. The metric for the schools is actually for students.
Okay.
Yeah, the other ones were somewhere in square footage, though, correct. And those two trends are primarily taken from the Department of Finance projections, looking at where kind of age-wise population is expected, and then backtracking to say, based off that projected age, how many of those kids would be school students in college, how many would be in middle, elementary, high school, and then proportionally just kind of reduced from there. So that's why there's that slight difference between the two values, is primarily off the Department of Finance projections. And it's a little bit tricky, but yeah, the Department of Finance is one of the is an agency that projects kind of that zero population growth for Sonoma County into the future. So we're forced to mix a little bit of how our projections are, where there is, some growth expected in some areas, but maybe less in others in terms of land use. But for schools is one that is, we're keeping consistent as an overall reduction between all scenarios for student decline.
Thank you for the clarification.
All right, if there's no other questions for Adam, we could let him move on to the next item, which will also be speaking to the travel behavior study update, model validation request or draft request for proposals.
Yes, thank you, Dana. So yeah, this is a somewhat of a three-part scope of work that we're considering right now. So there's a validation of all of these numbers, primarily the existing conditions for the travel model. But what's usually really exciting is an update to the travel behavior study also. So that's really looking at kind of those big data sources, primarily from cellular information, but also some vehicle transponders that can start to provide those kind of summertime usually or springtime snapshots of where people are moving within the county, between jurisdictions, between different parts of the county, and then outside of the county as well too. So this would be the third iteration of that travel behavior study. And so, yeah, it's always good to have insights, especially just around to compare between what our travel model tells us against what the kind of big data is telling us. So kind of a secondary use is just helpful validation for the travel model as well. And then the third piece is really looking at some type of support and training for our ongoing travel model work. Some is relevant to what our existing travel model can do and how it might be, which is a kind of a 4-step trip-based model, which is somewhat limited in its to its competitors in its kind of simplicity, but then also training for where we'll be advancing is in the activity-based model, which is much more integrated and into how we kind of live our daily lives, not between zones, but very detailed actions throughout a complex geography. So that's what the training will take care of, is support for both existing and kind of our expansion to the activity-based model. And so let's see, I can jump into a little bit more detail if people want, but I'd also just love to hear if there are any thoughts, if folks had a chance to review the scope of work. There's a lot of details in there, so don't want to bore people with that, but see if there's maybe some discussion or questions I can help answer. But happy to provide an overview as well too, if that's what folks want.
An overview? Okay. Yeah, if you could provide a little overview, I think we do have time.
Okay.
Helpful. Thank you.
Perfect. Great. So yeah, the first step, I'll just go kind of through the tasks. So one of the steps that we'll be doing is sometimes just helpful to take a snapshot in the current view rather than even looking 3 years back or so. So we'll be updating our existing conditions to 2025. Right now they're at 2023. So just kind of a quick update to those 2 additional years to say what was built at the end of last year. And so then the calibration is important because, as I mentioned, this is a tool that's really heavily relied on by large projects that have big impacts on, how we live and move around. So the validation is an integral part of just checking, kind of getting our work checked, and bringing more resources to bear to understand that our estimations of land use development and the network as well are accurate and up to date. So one of the things that we're looking for is trying to figure out where can we expand maybe a little bit beyond just the standard validation that's performed. So some updates that we're looking into is to be able to describe the auto occupancy a little bit more accurately. So how many people per vehicle, especially with work from home being more predominant, making sure that our estimates for what those work from home rates are up to date and how they essentially influence trip making. One of the things that we've seen as a result through some studies have shown that that traditional peak time of day during the morning and evening commute has changed somewhat with the work from home. So understanding how that peak spreading is happening a little bit. So it might not be that the busiest times are where we always thought they were, or always thought when they were. And then also just trying to make sure that our VMT and GHG reporting is consistent. That's something that we track very closely through our inventory, our greenhouse gas inventory metrics. And as you all know, it is the leading source of emissions from transportation related emissions. So getting a clear sense about where those emissions are coming from, and then the tools we might be able to use subsequently, like through our transportation demand management plan, can be, very vital to our work. We'll also be looking at just making sure our two scenarios I mentioned into Plan Bay Area 2050 Plus and the general plan build out are accurate. And then a few other enhancement, just making sure that we can dial in our tourism numbers beyond just wineries, but where other places might draw tourism. Thinking about micromobility as well. How can we improve access to understanding, or sorry, improve our understanding of how those scooters and e-bikes are influencing travel behavior, as well as the transportation network companies like Lyft and Uber. And then hopefully thinking about if there are any online dashboards or something that can more easily interpret our information to other folks who are interested in this data. And then so the next task is the travel behavior study. What we'll be doing with this is some of the important things are really, like I mentioned, just trying to collect data from a variety of different locations, mobile locations, that is. So getting license plate scanning, mobile device data, GPS data, or even video detection, license plate scanning, can all go into just trying to inform the overall movement of people around and within the county. So this should be pretty consistent with what we've done in the past. It's good to be able to use the same type of metrics and roughly compare between the last two versions of this travel behavior survey. So some estimates are really around the number of trips per day, where the origins and destinations are, and thinking about breaking up between, visitors, residents, and workers. Understanding where the major tourist destinations are, commute flows, and so forth. And there's a lot of great work that's been done even since our last update. So there's some good resources for a consultant to dive into and be able to get some good tools together to evaluate that. We're also thinking of similarly how we can bring a dashboard to bear to be able to, again, have some of this information more public facing, so it can be more easily accessed and analyzed. And then lastly, what we're thinking about for our activity-based model support and training is thinking, getting our training together for the activity-based model primarily. MTC is working to create a regional travel model. So rather than trying to start from scratch, we're going to be building off their work and then essentially enhancing a more Sonoma County based travel model. So in that respect, we can be able to use the kind of latest and best data. It's the work with MTC is will kind of be on their time frame primarily. So it might be in the next 2 to 4 years that we'll be able to take this work on. So so I think that's a pretty good overview. Essentially what we're hoping for then is to do a release for the RFP on June 10th and eventually then run through until October until we can award the contract. So have a good summer for working on this. So I think I'll pause there and see if there's any questions.
I was gonna say, thanks, Adam, that was great. I was gonna say, we have mostly transit providers in the room, one train. So from transit or specifically transit or train perspective, what are some of the both inputs and production pieces that you expect that would be useful to us as agencies, or just provide insight into transit activity in the region?
That is a great question. So one of the challenges working with the big data providers has been the ability to disaggregate these kind of population flows by transit. So one of the things that we will be exploring is that question exactly. Can you disaggregate these numbers and just show us, ideally we could see public transit and active transportation would be two great options. But I think a lot of this data is still, even though it's been around for years, is still getting in its infancy, and being able to track those types of details. They can give estimates, but they might not be terribly great. They're more kind of pilot versions of some ways of trying to estimate this information. So yeah, I think we'll include, if it's not in there already, we'll include some notes just to say, kind of to those points, exploring the ability to evaluate public transportation usage.
So otherwise the outputs will be identifying, destination numbers from counties to cities and that sort of movement.
Exactly.
And Adam, maybe if I can just add too, on the travel model side, that piece can definitely look at route level movements, both current and future, and stop level boardings and alightings as well. So you're getting to your question about inputs, any route level ridership information you have, we'll be requesting that at some point for that validation. And, that's another resource. So there's the travel model side, and then the travel behavior side, which is really good at those current origins and destinations. And then the model looking at ridership. Even if you want to look out to the future, what is this route looking like in the future under these general plan build out conditions that Adam was describing before. So yeah, a lot of good stuff in there, but yeah, it's as good as the input data we get from you, right? So if we're able to get that early on and validate it and calibrate it so it's doing okay in the current years, that's really important to making that useful for the future too.
And that, yeah, Yuri, that was my question as well. How can we best prepare? We're all trying to get, this is wonderful. I should start by saying, Adam, great work. Especially, I'm very excited as, looking at beyond, like you said, beyond zones, looking at the TNCs. I think, so I had a two-part question. One associated with Yuri's, kind of because this is new, especially looking at different patterns. Is there any studies that have been done elsewhere looking at travel behavior with these new items you put in? And the only reason I want to see those is so I can kind of have a sense of what we could anticipate. I know it wouldn't be necessarily reflective, but it'd be interesting to know and then kind of get our brains on what could we feed you, in terms of data. Is there any studies that have already been completed that include the considerations that are new in ours, not in Sonoma, but in other areas that we can look at? Does that make sense, that question?
Yeah, no, that definitely does. I'm not as familiar. I know they're, in terms of the active transportation, I know they're Replica and maybe a few other big data providers are trying to do that estimate for active transportation. Chris or Dana, if you know of any that have done on the public transit side with more detail, yeah, can chime in.
I'd start with our previous travel behavior studies and just take a look at that.
I'm curious about how the microtransit and the TNC data will appear. So like what we would anticipate. And I know you can't give that to me because we don't have it. That's cool. I just was curious about it.
We can ask around. So
and I can too. I was just curious. I haven't seen anything in my past. That's more what I was curious about.
Well, and getting back to your question about what would be helpful for us too. If you have any questions that you're really interested in that we could try and address with either the travel model or the big data travel behavior study, it'd be great to get feedback on that. And one thing we did as part of a previous travel behavior study was we had everyone look at the zones. So what areas are you interested in? Are we missing an area that you really want to focus on? So, yeah, I'm sure we could work through the process at some point and like, here are the zones. Are we missing something, right? Like an important school or a big shopping center that you want to look at, travel to and from, right? So, like the JC's called out, a lot of the marketplace on Santa Rosa Avenue is called out specifically. So yeah, that'll be an important kind of piece to kind of plug into too, so we can dial in that information. And maybe Adam has other ideas on other questions that may be useful to think about.
Yeah, well, just on the zones, also to touch on that, you can look at the TBS addendum online to see those zones. And that would be the best way to say, you're missing this part or break apart this, part of the city or county or whatever, or highlight this destination. I think that's, definitely one of the great questions to ask, and an easy resource just to look at. But yeah, I think it's going to be, as Chris mentioned, just thinking about those long-term strategic questions that you are asking, just wondering what happens if we do this, if we do that. with the route modifications. I think that's especially as, yeah, we're kind of thinking redoing some routes for various reasons, being able to test those in the travel model, I think can be really helpful. So things like that, I think questions along those lines would be most helpful, just kind of the hypotheticals that you're always trying to kind of grasp with, or historically have run through the travel model as well. It'd be great to know any past work that you might have done. But yeah, new emerging technologies, TNCs, micromobility, that's kind of our wish is to hopefully be able to distinguish that, but there's no guarantee depending on kind of who's out there that they can really pull that data to a high degree of accuracy or not. But things are changing quickly, so who's to say?
And Adam, I appreciate that. Just one last follow-up on the microtransit, since we have 2 microtransits going currently in the county. I mean, and I know that do you think maybe I'll get with you offline on that about what kind of data you could potentially get from that might be helpful and, both successful. So it'd be interesting to just kind of see.
And then Adam, can I just confirm that for the travel behavior study, the analysis period won't include any mascots implementation?
That's correct.
Okay, so there won't be, like, the increase in train service won't be reflected in any of the travel patterns?
No, it'll be really looking back. Yeah, probably 2025 and before.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. But that'll be on our ticket for the next one. So I know that we're trying to do this every few years, so that'll be a great comparison.
But so will the modeling be able to get
Right.
a picture of what those changes from mascot mean?
The base year is going to be 2025.
This year. the
So
next
no.
one will.
Yeah. But
Because I mean, when you guys talk about like what are the locations and links that we're talking about, I think some of that,
yeah,
we need to be able to look forward. So, like even things like, because I was going to, if mascots focused on the Northwest and basically suggested, I'm sorry, the North-South, and then suggested, transit activity occur in the East-West to connect to the train, so like, Sebastopol to Santa Rosa, like what are those, that I think that in the past modeling that shows up as a significant movement, significant, and then obviously the corridors, Windsor and Katiba, those are in the north-south. So the kind of being able to look at those east-west in terms of, does transit service, what would an increase in transit service in that corridor mean? Yeah, and then I'm, for the modeling, I'm just interested, like from a regional standpoint, what's our mode split goal? Like what changes, what affects the needle on our mode splits?
Yeah.
And then, and how do you input those constraints to identify what would make those changes? Anyways, I don't really know much about modeling, but I'm always like, can it show that stuff?
So maybe Adam, I'll take a stab, and if you want to jump in, like we can definitely show it. And right now we actually have a lot of improvements in the model for the future that go beyond the mascots improvements, all the CTP and planned area improvements, which are a little further than mascots. So I think it'd be interesting to have just a mascots breakout of that we could turn on and off.
Yeah, for sure.
So Adam, maybe we should talk about that over the next few weeks about, how to integrate that in, and, maybe that's something we do and work with the consultant on too, but
because I think
yeah, it's certainly possible.
Because I think another part of that could be, what some of the, that's the first phase of mascots. So there's other kind of ideas out there in terms of what would additional phases look like.
Yeah.
So being able to have some of those inputs to see if the model shows what we're intending to happen.
Yeah. And the possibilities are endless, right? It's whatever we plug in there.
Right. And so that would be the idea, is like, how much do we have to plug in to affect mode shift?
Yeah. We did some tests 2 CTPs ago where, how could we shift things around, and we had to increase parking pricing, drop fares to zero, and assume all the buses were completely full to start moving the needle. So there were,
Increased gas prices.
yeah, we bumped it up to
That would never happen.
yeah, about to where they are now, about 8 years ago. But yeah, there's some interesting tests we can do too. So yeah, we can maybe investigate that as part of the
I
process.
think, I think having that as one of the final outputs because I didn't know that you guys did that piece of it,
Yeah.
to know that those, what it would take to move the needle.
Yeah.
Just so that for elected officials, for planners, for everybody. Yeah.
So just to give a cliff notes on that, it took more than the elected officials were comfortable with at the time to really start. Yeah. So
You mean it took for it to be published or for them to do anything on?
to act, because there were
Right,
pricing,
right.
and a lot of things that we just, what if we do this, right? What if we did something that filled the buses completely, right? Or filled every vehicle to occupancy in the HOV lane, things like that. So like Adam said, a lot of things are changing, with technology and other stuff. So who knows what'll happen in the next little while. But yeah.
Yeah, we can't.
have to come to meetings anymore, so you.
Yeah, you just log in.
Riding a bus while you do it.
Yeah.
Meeting on a bus.
Please write the train the best.
All right.
Got that Wi-Fi on the bus and train.
Why not? It's a double.
Take all your meetings.
Exactly.
Have a meeting on the bus?
Okay, that is what I'm saying. I'm just.
Well,
I was
yeah,
just
go
gonna
ahead.
say, I'm really excited. So I do know that I'll be reaching out because I'm a little behind on things, just to ask a few questions if that's cool. And thank you so much for all this work, guys.
Yeah, and great questions, great discussion. This was really helpful. So thank you. We'll get some updates on that scope of work before we send it out. So thank you all.
And, we could always send out a link to that travel behavior study addendum to take a look at the
Yes, please.
Zones from the last time and start thinking about them. We did use the last travel behavior study in some transit planning work to kind of look at areas with high demand. So I think it'll be really useful to get an update. All right, thank you, Adam and Chris. Moving on to transit integration updates. For the local bus operator integration. Last week we had some discussion on coordination options for upcoming short range transit plans. MTC had presented some ideas on different ways to go and how to do that. So just kind of started that discussion. Continuing to work on a kind of tying up loose ends to do a hard launch of the new websites. Soft launches have been done. And let's see, I think that's all I have for the local operators, unless any of them have anything to add.
I have a question.
Sure.
Are we doing fare free on Earth Day, which is the 23rd?
It has been on the list, and I believe there was agreement from.
Yeah, I think on one of the past, we agreed that we were gonna do it because I remember bringing it forward because I got asked about it from the city because they're doing the event on the
Is it
18th, I think. Is it the 18th or
23rd?
the Saturday? Maybe it's the 23rd.
Is a Wednesday, it's actually.
Yeah, what's
Thursday,
the-
but they're probably doing a weekend event.
But I saw Emily sent me an email too, so I was planning
Yeah,
on
okay.
that. So I think it's the
It was
18th.
25th.
Oh, it's 25th. That might be right. Yeah.
You may be thinking of the May 18th, which is the.
No, I'm not. I'm
Next-
just.
okay.
I just knew it was one of those 2
Butter egg.
weekends.
Butter and egg day. That's what you're thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cholesterol.
Cholesterol fat.
I got you. I got her on. I got her on the mic.
Oh, okay.
Hot mic. Sorry.
Well, that's okay.
You're gonna have to separate.
Butter and
you're
eggs.
gonna have to
is-
separate you
is
two.
important. I can't be doing the free shuttle, just FYI.
Yeah, so you don't get any exercise, you mean?
Yeah, there you go.
So we just all need to, market that appropriately if we're
Yeah.
moving forward. We just wanted to confirm. So it sounds like it's happening.
Yeah, and Marin Transit is not online today, but I believe that they're also doing a Fare Free Day, so
Oh, okay.
there may be an opportunity to coordinate there.
Maybe you want to send that email, Stephen, I'll try to CC Marin on that and
Yeah.
see what the response is.
All right, regional meetings, report outs. Does anybody have anything to report out on regional meetings?
I have a quick thing on the transit oriented communities policy. So this is probably mostly for SMART about transit extensions. So I think I presented last month on changes to the TOC policy. So they've really revamped it and it's focused on an incentive based versus kind of a carrot versus a stick approach. But they're reworking the transit extension piece as well. So be watching for something soon on that. They're going to be rewriting the guidance, but just a few of the things I wrote down and what some of the changes will probably be. They're removing the 2026 deadline. They're asking project sponsors to submit a work plan to document actions to reach the TOC threshold within 5 years. Asking for annual progress reports to MTC staff. It'd stop once your station area reaches the threshold, and you would risk losing funding with no progress. So just a few of the things to look for in the updated guidance. So probably this month or next month, we should see that hitting the commission. So just wanted to let everyone know, especially SMART know that that's coming out. So. But our jurisdictions are making good progress too. So yeah, hopefully it'll be less of an issue than we thought before.
And can you remind me the deadline again for our cities to kind of submit their compliance to the portal? It's 2027, right?
They pushed it out to 2027. Yeah. So
Yes.
initially it was this January and that's all been pushed out. And we're expecting between 2 and 5 of our jurisdictions to actually hit the threshold. We have a number of technical assistance grants underway right now, including Healdsburg, Petaluma, Santa Rosa's had some, Roner Park. So yeah, Cotati's was kind of the high performer across the region for small jurisdictions. So they should be eligible for some funding there too. But yeah, good progress.
That's great.
So there was a transit priority roadway assessment technical advisory group meeting yesterday, where they reviewed their initial draft maps that are showing transit delay and hotspots. I think you were on that and had some good questions for them. So yeah, I don't know if
It seemed that they were showing a lot of the county's routes, but they did not have all a full slate of the city routes. I didn't go down to the Petaluma level. But
yeah, and I think there were some questions about kind of the shapes of the delay and if there was maybe some missing data in there. So yeah, they're kind of taking a closer look at some inputs. Then I think still processing the bus loads on segments that could better inform that data.
Dana, do you know if that's going to go into identifying the transit priority network? Is that a piece?
It is, I believe it's a piece that goes into it, but that's much further out. And my understanding there were some questions around whether these hotspots will influence whether funding could go towards certain projects for transit priority. And, I think that this would just be something that would kind of support it and not necessarily identify what's eligible. It's just data to help support it. Any other regional meeting?
Just relevant for this group, the Transportation Finance Working Group, met, and there was some discussion about the next round of the short range transportation plan development. So they had proposed kind of guidelines to be adopted in August. But they're looking at adjusting some dates in their schedule as it relates to their larger regional transportation measure. But just something to keep an eye on because they were originally proposing an August 31st, 2027 adoption at the various agency boards. So that is moving a little bit, but they are making progress on the guidelines.
So, sorry, are they bumping that date, that August date, or are they just looking at updating the guidelines? Do you know?
I think they're proposing adjusting their schedule at wholesale, but it wasn't finalized in the discussion.
Okay.
So something to keep an eye on, but it is coming forward.
Just some projects that jumped to my mind. I think Friday there's a SRJC meeting. I think a number of the bus operators are headed to that.
Yep.
I know the bike pedestrian bridge, Cottingtown, I know that's moving forward in terms of project scoping and so there was a meeting earlier this week on the North Santa Rosa Station area plan regarding a lot of like TDM type initiatives, and so that I attended that. And then these are both more Sonoma County specific, but there's a turn pocket on B to Third, Stephen, that's getting constructed fairly quickly.
There's a what?
A turn pocket from B southbound to Third, so it shouldn't affect too much.
I think we got the detour.
Yeah, you got that
heads
noticed.
up on
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And then there's also some work, we could talk about it another time, but around restriping B Street from First to Seventh.
Okay.
So, well, yeah, I mean.
All right. Let's go ahead and move on to transit operator updates. Would you like to kick it off, Zoe?
Sure, yeah. In March, our ridership was just shy of 125,000 riders. That's 32% up from March of the prior year. We are also in Giants season, so Smart and the Ferry are coordinating to serve many of those games. So that's very exciting. I think we discussed previously, but there was a Healdsburg meeting held. Okay, the date is escaping me. March 23rd, I want to say. In the evening in Healdsburg, we had over 200 participants come into an open house, and there was generally a lot of enthusiasm and interest in the project. And related, we will be having on Friday, May 8th at 1 p.m. a groundbreaking ceremony for the Healdsburg Extension Project. And that'll be held at the new Foley Family Community Pavilion in Healdsburg. So we're very excited to get to be at that venue.
Sorry.
May 8th. And that's it for Smart.
Great. Very exciting. Thank you. All right. Sonoma
Yep.
County Transit.
Let's see here. Our EV charging project is back on track after like about a year hiatus due to various change orders and unordered parts. So we've got that back on track, and we're hoping to have that commissioned and open and ready to use in June. Right in time for the delivery of our 7 Gillig buses, our first 40-foot EV buses from Gillig. So that was all planned to coincide perfectly. Appreciate the laughter. But even more exciting, we're in the process of installing our new CAT AVL GMV. Yeah. Oh, you didn't know that?
I haven't been here for 8 months.
Ah, Maria, I thought you were following us online. So yeah, we're excited about that. We're getting them up. We've got them on about 20% of the fleet, but they're doing 2 to 3 buses every day. And so it's really going to help, we think, our drivers with on-time performance because they've got a tablet right in front of them and it's basically color coded to say you're on time, you're early, or you're late. And so, I mean, it's going to be right there. So we're excited about that. And also the APCs, we haven't had solid APCs that have worked consistently for years. And so I know a lot of people have been waiting with bated breath for their studies to get that kind of data. And over the summer, you'll start to see some of that good data coming in for those studies. That's about all the excitement I can share today.
Great, very exciting.
I feel like as a transit nerd, I was a little too excited. That was that's exciting.
Maria, welcome back and your new role.
What are you here? What capacity?
I know, right? Which I was telling Maria Arce, Petaluma Transit. I was telling staff at Petaluma, I think I've attended this meeting with different agencies and many different titles. But I think proof is in the pudding. I keep coming back. They haven't decided they're done with me yet. So my name is Maria Arce. I have worked in transit for quite a while and in Sonoma. I am currently the interim transit manager as Jared Hall is departing on Thursday. We are ecstatic for the years he put in with service at Petaluma Transit. I was thankful for having an opportunity to provide a really good bridge, just because having had worked there for 2 years, I can maybe offer some guidance while they kind of go through this transformation moment into the next leadership. That being said, my first day was Monday. And I hit the ground running with a council meeting, which I'm learning about, some budget issues that we're having, as well as fun and exciting things coming. So give me some time for sure, but I am, as most of you know, or will find out, fully accessible to you, and really excited to be here and help in any capacity. In terms of updates, I've heard a lot in the last 3 days, but I will say that butter and egg day. Plural on the egg. Did you know that? It is not butter and eggs day.
Egg?
It's one egg. And I just, as a Petaluma representative, need to make sure everyone here begins to count it. No, I'm just kidding. But it is true. It's butter and egg days. And April 18th, we're excited to once again be providing free shuttle service to the event. Although we're excited that SMART has so much service as well. We saw a great, strangely, I think a decrease in our numbers, which was good because we assumed an increase in SMART numbers. So we're excited to see what that's going to look like this year. We'll also be tabling at the event. And I know we have some new electric buses, but other than that, what I would say is if you have something pressing with Petaluma Transit, please reach out directly to me. And thank you.
Right, there it is, butter and egg days.
You pushed.
No. I just want to say thank you, Maria. Welcome back. And I know that you had to defer a trip to Japan, I think, to stay on board. And so thank you very much for doing that.
For clarification, a 2-year visa to Japan, but no.
I didn't want to say that.
No, well worth it. Well worth it. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yuri Cousin, City Bus. When Smart did their numbers on ridership, Matt just did our numbers. So it's 114,000 rides for February, 42,000 U3 rides. Those are some of the numbers. We're getting our Gillig buses. No, sorry, not the Gilligs. We already have our Gilligs, so our new flyers are coming in over the next 2 months.
New flyers, you said?
Yeah. So we already have the Gilligs, so the new flyers are coming. So that's gonna be tight on the charging, but we'll make it work. We're launching a charge management service with Mobility House. So hopefully that'll help us manage the charging a little better. And then we have a new charging project that we're in the design phase right now for 6 additional ports. Yeah, I nothing else is coming top of mind, so I'm gonna stop there.
Okay. Thank you.
Sorry, your time was up. That's what.
Yeah, that's it. I tried not to run over.
Doing that preparation for me, okay?
I only time you, Yuri.
You know me too well.
Okay, so we did find a issue when we were processing our C2 data, so I'm gonna re-report January figures, and then I also have February as well. I'm gonna try my best to explain what happened with C2. But what I think happened, or essentially happened, is with C2 data, we now ingest data directly from the Cubic data warehouse. And I think this applies to all agencies, but specifically for ours, where we have tap on and tap off, there's now multiple transactions when a rider taps on because they have the opportunity to reprice their fare. So January was incorrect because we were taking in more transaction data than we had thought. It's a different procedure with C1. So for January, I'm just going to do bridge as well because it's in front of me. We were down 1%, bus we were about even. Ferry, we saw a 5% jump. In February, bridge went up by 4%, bus went up 2%, and then ferry went up 21%, but down 6% from the previous month. And these are year-over-year percentages. So it seems like we had kind of a bad ferry February in 2025 that kind of created such a big jump. And I think that's all I got.
Yeah, we had the same issue with our C2, so we had to go back and adjust our ridership the same way. So I think we have tag on and tag off as well, so that complicated things for those agencies.
Petaluma staff's telling me I need to tell you guys that there's also 5 electric paratransit vans coming, I believe, to delivery this week.
Electric.
That's what they're saying.
Oh, wow.
Yes, so I'm excited.
These will be the first
I know.
paratransit in the county.
I'm gonna find all of them. They're not cutaways though.
They're not.
They're vans.
Sprinters.
What-
Are they the sprinters, like a sprinter style van? We just tested one for the last month. It was like 100-mile range was its max. And it worked in terms of the range. I'm still waiting for the numbers, but most of the time.
And yeah, I wasn't part of any of the procurement for them, so I'm really excited to find out because this has been a big issue. So yay, Petaluma gets to figure it out. So I'm excited to bring more of that information back as well.
All right, I'm going to check in if there's any operator updates from the folks online. I see David Sorrell has his hand up, so let's start with the Amtrak Gold Runner update.
Yes, good morning, everyone. David Sorrell, San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission. Quick update on the throughway bus study front. We are going to start that process with our consultant later this month. One thing of note is that I will be on paternity leave starting on the 21st, so you will likely hear from our associate planner, Hugo Ponce. He's great at what he does. And so he's going to be pinch hitting for me until July. What this means is that we'll be likely contacting you all, at least within the county level, to discuss how can we best serve Route 7, given the fact that we have the 5 stops, given the fact that also, I'm personally looking forward to mascots starting on Sunday. But if there are any questions or any suggestions that you may have before I take off on the 21st, feel free to pester me anytime. I'm happy to hear your thoughts to make our throughway routes more efficient and easier to access for all of you guys.
I'll throw one out because I know I was part of working with your team around changing to servicing Cottingtown as the stop. And I know during those discussions, there was a discussion around adding the transit mall as a stop at some point. And so I'd like to see that as a potential. I know we have a lot of riders that ask for it at the transit mall, and it's so you would see ridership from there.
Okay. Would you make the argument for swapping Cottingtown for the transit mall or adding the transit mall?
I'm not going to argue either way. I think Cottingtown's fine. I think the original discussion, there was a desire, it was from internally on your team that having a more suburban style bus stop was preferable to some audiences of your riders. And so I think at the time it was an additional stop. So, but I don't really have an opinion either way.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you very much for that feedback. I think that was something I noticed when I started working with the Rail Commission 2 years ago, that Cottingtown and the Transit Mall, distinctive but different, and knowing that there's potential for transit and the train access as well, but you also have regional partners at the Transit Mall. So I'll take that in consideration. I'll forward that over to our team.
Great.
Thank you. That's it on my end, but I appreciate the feedback.
All right, we have another.
I have another question for you. Yeah, thanks, Dana. So I'm a little embarrassed to admit that I don't know a heck of a lot about Route 7, but I think it goes between, does it go Petaluma to Napa and then over to Vallejo and on to Martinez? Is that the routing?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so we continue to get, and it's not a lot of people, and we used to have a route between Petaluma, Sonoma, and Napa, which some people use, but it failed because of lack of ridership. So do you have a stop in Sonoma and Napa? Is that doable?
We have a stop in Napa, but we don't have one in Sonoma.
That would be a request from us. I think that would fill a pretty big gap for transit in between Napa and Sonoma counties.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think I forgot who I talked to. He was on the Golden Gate Bus Passengers Advisory Committee that I attended last month. He made the same suggestion in the email to me, and I told him that we can definitely take that in consideration as a possible option for some of the cross county users that need to get between Napa and Petaluma. So I think that's a really interesting idea that we can definitely take forward into consideration.
I think you can get from Napa to Petaluma right now. It's just there's not a stop in Sonoma. That's the key stop.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And then I see David Ripperda has his hand up as well.
Yeah, just to add to the discussion on Route 7, if you are looking for a spot where you could have a stop between Napa and Petaluma without having to go into the city of Sonoma proper, there is a brand new park and ride lot with a bus stop that currently has no service at the intersection of Highway 116, 121 south of city of Sonoma, which I believe is on the existing routing for Route 7. And then just going back to earlier discussion from a conversation I had with Dan Levitt a couple years ago, I think just to echo, I think there was some concerns on just kind of the urban environment and the I think we all know kind of the people that hang out at the downtown transit mall in Santa Rosa. I think that's one of the reasons why there was some reluctance to stop there. But I would like to push, while the Healdsburg extension is under construction for SMART, maybe we have additional Route 7 stop in Windsor at the downtown station there that could provide direct bus to rail transfer there.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, that was one of the things that I kind of flagged when I was kind of looking at some of our pre-work, and knowing that Healdsburg isn't coming online for a little bit longer. How can we best accommodate our smart users, any of the smart users that want to take our service, and try to make that as painless as possible. I know downtown Petaluma would be the stop, but if we were looking at Windsor as an opportunity, that's something that I can be able to put to our consultants and let them kind of sift through it. but I like that feedback.
Could you talk about, in terms of the consultant work, what is the schedule and horizon of this work?
So it looks like the next 6 months. So we're going to basically start probably towards the end of April, early May. We're doing some pre-work to kind of look at stop data, try to get as much as we can from Amtrak, which is a little bit tough at times. And then we're looking at what we can do as far as service changes, not only for Route 7, but the other 11 routes that we serve in the state. So we do serve, multiple level of destinations in and throughout California, as well as Las Vegas. One of the things, at least as far as the timeline and the horizon, is short-term changes that we can make as early as next fiscal year through about 2030. And then longer term changes from 2030 to 2034 and beyond 2034. And that's going to be possibly in coordination with high speed rail when that gets started as well, because we do want to make sure that we have opportunities galore to kind of fill in some of these some of the gaps in to try to make things a lot more convenient for the users.
Thank you.
David, I have a curiosity question because it's not in my city. For the Healdsburg stop, because I know you guys are, I'm just curious, is there a lot of ridership there for the 7? Because I know it's kind of off.
You what? Let me follow up with you on that. We normally get our ridership data, but I need to kind of parse that out from our transit analysts.
Yeah, and it was more curiosity because most of the stops, are in these big hubs, and that's one right now that's kind of truly a bus stop. So I'm just curious from the perspective of how the rider receives that, if they'd be less, sometimes they are with bigger trips, longer trips, more excited to be at a bigger hub, which I'm assuming is the expectation eventually.
Right. Yeah, I'm happy to field that. If you want to send me an email, I can definitely follow up. I will definitely follow up before I take leave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, David, for all the information, and congratulations to you.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any operator updates from Marin or Mendocino?
I can go. This is Jacob up here in Mendocino. We've adjusted the bus that we go down there, our CC Rider bus, to match up with the new mascot's Smart Train schedule. So we didn't actually get notified about it until like 2 weeks ago that there was going to be a big change. So we scrambled and made it happen. We'll be emailing all the operators the new schedules so that we can meet up instead of meeting up with Golden Gate.
And that's the 65?
That is the 65 and the 95. The 95 comes over from Point Arena.
So you adjusted the schedules on both routes?
Yes.
Okay.
So the 95, there's only one pickup in the afternoon.
Yep.
So we had to adjust so that we can make that connection.
Okay, thank you.
The 95 connecting with the Smart Train, and then the 65, is that up? Is that, where was that change?
At the Smart Train as well. So our northbound and southbound's by request.
Both of them with the downtown station?
We're actually going to be doing it over in the airport. So at their hub, their airport.
Right, but the 95 is with the downtown station, though, I think.
Right, exactly.
The 65 is with the airport station, right?
There you go. Thank you.
Right.
That you, Yuri?
Yes.
Oh man, my savior. Thank you.
Yeah. I remember having the conversation. I was like, oh my God, we didn't notify you guys.
Yeah.
And I was making sure I had it right too.
It's good. It's cool. Made it work. A lot of confused operators. That's all we've been dealing with. I can't wait for the passengers.
Did you guys have any comments on the Route 7 up in Mendocino, or is that working for you guys?
Everything, yeah, we've been partnering with the Amtrak guys. It's been working just fine.
Yep.
Are you going to be distributing new hard copy schedules at all? I'm assuming it's on your website.
It's on the website, it's on social media, and we will be sending digital copies to you guys and possibly they're at the printer. The hard copies are at the printer, so we don't know when we're going to get those back, but we're shooting for hopefully tomorrow.
Right. Not that I want to suggest any additional changes to your schedule, but Route 95 just wanted to let you know that we started serving the Railroad Square Smart Station via 3rd Street about a year ago, and it's been very popular. So that's some routing that you may want to consider connecting into Smart.
Yeah, we're doing that 420 on the 95 Santa Rosa downtown 3rd Street.
Right,
Okay.
you're already doing that.
Oh, they are?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's the change.
great.
That's the change.
We're going
that
to,
is part
yeah,
of the
that's the change. We're
Oh,
going
it is part of the change. Perfect. All right.
Excellent.
Thank you.
I'm sure you've thought of this. Do you need Smart or Golden Gate updated schedules?
Yes.
Everything for Golden Gate's on our website, but I can also forward that over to you.
Yep. And we got so what was it like the day before when we were scrambling, when we got the day before the press release came out is when we found out about this. So we were scrambling and we got some help on that. So that was cool.
I just mentioned this, Jacob, because I know our staff just got updated with it, which is for Smart. You guys have a website where you go and you request schedules, right?
That's right.
I'm not sure if you knew that, Jacob.
All right. Thanks, guys.
One last question. Have the changes gone into effect already, or are they going into effect at the same time as the mascots changes?
On the 12th.
Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for the updates and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, any other operator updates? Let's move on to other business comments or announcements. Hearing none, we can adjourn. Thank you all so much.
Thanks.